We've all been there. You open up a drawer only to find this. A giant mess. Not only is it disorganized, but there's actually a lot of wasted vertical space. So today I'm getting organized and building these simple drawer dividers with an upper level sliding tray for extra storage. I'll start by removing the drawer and empty it all out. Oh, and by the way, I have a video showing how I built and installed these drawers that you can check out. My goal here is really to make it easier to find things and to capitalize on the vertical space rather than having everything just piled up on the bottom of the drawer. And while I'm at it, I'll clean up some of this junk too. Alright, so I've laid out all my items on the table, and while I'm not going to measure every single individual item and build perfectly fitting cubbies for each and every one of them, what I have done is laid them out and classified them by size, so I'll have a rough idea of what size dividers I should be making for this drawer. So it looks like I have 3 size categories here. 7 inches in the middle, under 5 inches on the left, and about 12 inches on the right. Alright, with that figured out, I know I need some 7-inch and some 5-inch compartments, so I did a little math and drew up a sketch, and I'm ready to start cutting these dividers. As for these screwdrivers, I have something else planned for them. I picked up this magnetic tool holder at Princess Auto. It's super powerful and can hold screwdrivers, squares, rulers, or any other metal objects. So now I'll have all my screwdrivers out in the open whenever I need one. Alright, so back to the drawer now. Since I'm making 2 levels, each level will be half the depth of the drawer. My drawer is only 4 inches deep, so I'm cutting up a bunch of 2-inch strips that I'll use to make the dividers. I'm using 1/4-inch plywood because I have some on hand, but 1/4-inch MDF would work just as well. I'll need to cut out notches into these strips, so to make sure they're consistent, I'll grab 4 strips and tape them together. These pieces will be parallel to the drawer sides. Next, I'll do the same with another 3 strips that'll be perpendicular to the sides. At this point, I'll measure the drawer length and cut the strips to length. I first squared up one end, then measured and cut the other end. I find it's best to sneak up on the cut, so if it doesn't fit on the first try, just trim a little more off until it fits just right. I'll repeat the same process for the perpendicular strips and ensure they fit before moving on to cutting the notches. Here I'm just roughly measuring where I'll cut the notches, making sure to account for the thickness of the notches themselves. Afterwards, I can come back with a scrap piece of the same plywood and mark out the notches. These really don't have to be that precise, so I'm comfortable using this less than scientific method. If you want, you can even mark the top of the notches, which should be just a hair more than half the width of the strip. With all the notches marked out, I can head over to my table saw and set the blade height, again aiming for just a hair above the halfway mark, in my case, just over 1 inch. You can use a fancy aftermarket miter gauge to cut the notches, or just attach a sacrificial fence to your saw's miter gauge. This will help support the board and allow you to clamp the strips in place while you cut. I'll start by lining up the blade just inside the left marking and then make the first cut. I can then move it over ever so slightly and line it up inside the marking on the right, then make the cut again. Then I'll repeat this for every notch. Again, I'm not aiming for perfection here. As long as the notch is wide enough to fit the mating piece, it should be fine. The pieces that will be perpendicular to the sides will get notches on the ends of the boards as well, and this is where having a long sacrificial support board really comes in handy. With all of the notches cut, I can take the tape off and get these installed. I'm not going to glue or nail anything down, so these dividers will be completely removable if I change my mind or if I even want to change the layout later. Getting the first ones in is probably the hardest piece of the puzzle, but after that, everything should drop into place fairly easily. Once the grid is installed, it's really solid even without any fasteners. Okay, next I want to build an upper tray similar to this one that'll slide back and forth. I've already got the bottom piece cut, that's just 1/8 shy of the width of the drawer. Now as you can see, I made sure to lay out the bottom divider so that the center divider is exactly in the middle. That way you can still fully access the cubbies both at the front and at the back, depending on how you slide the tray. Just as before, I started by grouping and cutting all of my parts to size. Then laid out the notches and made the cuts using my miter gauge.
To assemble the tray, I'll use a little glue and some brad nails. The material is so thin, which makes it a little challenging, so I'll first secure the corners with tape, then drive in the nails. A little more glue here, then drop on the bottom and attach it with some more short brads. I'll wipe off the glue squeeze out on the outside and use this straw trick to clean up the inside. This is just a straw cut on a 45-degree angle and it works great on inner corners. Okay, now I can just drop in the dividers and voila. You know, for some reason a lot of people find the way I say drawers to be amusing. Not sure why that is. Why, do you say draws or drawers? Drawer, that's the word, right? Must be a French-Canadian thing. Anyway, time to load this drawer up. The funny thing is that even though the drawer has as much stuff in it as it did before, it seems much more spacious and I can easily see where everything is. And there's even a little room left to add a little more. Until next time, thanks for watching, see you soon.